Good afternoon. I'm Mabel. I want to encourage you guys to please subscribe to my channel, like my videos. You can make comments. I'm open to correction. And thank you so much. I'll be performing the Mertens experiment with you guys today. Thank you for your support. Illustration. Yeah, we are just going to follow the illustration. This is Neco 2024 experiment. So I'm going to use this procedure for the experiment. In the diagram, a thread AC fixed at A passes over a pulley C. So this is the pulley. This is the point A where the thread is fixed at, and we are going to hang an hanger here at this end. This hanger will have the mass W, that's the weight W that the Neco has us to provide. So this will be constant throughout the experiment. Then at the middle, so we are going to measure the length from this point to this point. I already measured it. The length is 42 cm. So at the midpoint, we are hanging another mass hanger at the midpoint. The midpoint of 42 is 21. So at the 21 length of this thread, I have another mass hanger. So we are going to add different masses here and measure the depression, because as you add more mass to this hanger, we believe that you are applying effort to carry the load here. So this is the load. This is where we will apply the effort to carry the load. So as you add more mass, we believe that there will be some level of depression here, and the load should push forward, should be lifted. So we are going to mark each point of depression. So when we mark each point of depression, then we measure the length from this point A to point O. This is point O. This will be our point O. Yeah, so we measure the length from this point A to point O. That is, we are going to record that part also, and we are going to measure also the distance from the initial state where the thread is, this point here. Then we measure from this point, initial state, to the new position of depression. So that point, we are going to measure that point also, and that point is our y. That's the distance, the length BO. So that will be our y. So our tables of value based on the instruction is just going to have the AO, the length AO, that is from here to here, and the length BO, which is the y. So that is just the readings we are going to take for the experiment. The experiment, after which will be done with the experiment. So for the first one, I'm going to measure the initial state of my thread. This is where the thread is. I have not added any mass to my hanger, so I believe that the thread is at this point initially. So when no mass is added, so we are going to start with the 10-gram mass. So I will add the 10-gram mass. I add the 10-gram mass. So on adding, be careful so you don't pull it. So on adding the 10-gram mass, I have a depression here. This is the depression at this point. This is when I added the 10-gram mass. This is for the initial state. So when I added the 10-gram mass, I have this depression. Then the next one is the 20-gram mass. So I will just adjust so to get back to where it is for the 10-gram mass here. Then I'll add for 20. I have 10 already. I add another 10. Adding another 10. On adding another 10, I have 20 now. So I have a new depression. And it is at this point. The new depression is at this point. That is for 20. Then for 30, I'll just adjust it to go back to this point where it's supposed to be. Then for 30, I remove the 10. I'm going to remove the 10, and I'll just put 20 because I have 10 already there. So I'll just add the 20, so it will be 30. So this is my new depression position for the 30-gram mass. So you keep noting it. Don't forget we started from here. This is the initial state. So you keep noting it. Now I've done that of 30. I'm moving to 40. For 40, I need just 10. I'll add 10 more grams to this to have 40. So your initial position, I want to be sure it's there. So I'll add the 10 gram mass to make it 40. So now on adding it, wow, this is the new position. I just use my pencil to push it a little bit, so I'll adjust it back. So this is the new position, adding the 40 gram mass. So and finally the 50 gram mass. So for my 50, I will add we add 10 gram to this, 10 to this, 10 for 10 plus this 40, then plus 10, I have 50. So I have a new depression for the 50. So the new position for the new depression for 50. This is it. Let's make the market. So at this stage, we have done taking our measurement. We are done taking our measurement. I'm taking our readings. So now I've marked my position. All of the position needed for all of the depressions for each of the masses. So the next thing is I'm just going to pull out the paper from the board and start. I'll trace my line so I can take proper measurements. So now I already pulled out my paper from the board. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a line, a straight line. Okay, this is the point, but this is my initial. This is the initial position. That's where I started. Where the line started from. So I'm going to draw the straight line there. Use a transparent ruler so you can see what you are doing very well. So I'll draw it up to the point A. Up to point A. This point A. This is point A where I fished the thread. So this is the point here. This is where my pulley is. My pulley is exactly at this level. That's why I use a pin at this point just to help me remember where my point C, position of my pulley, is. So this is my point C. So the next thing to do is to draw a perpendicular line from the midpoint B. This is the midpoint. So I'll draw a perpendicular line. This is my midpoint. I'm going to draw a perpendicular line at that point. Draw a perpendicular line at that point. So this is the level of depression. This point here is the level of depression when I added the what's it called? The 20 gram, the 10 gram mass. The 10 gram mass. Why this is the level of depression when I added the 20 gram mass. This one is the level of depression when I added the 30 gram mass. This is the level of depression when I added the 40 gram mass, and finally this is the level of depression when I added the 50 gram mass. So what I am going to do now, because I need to know the distance from this point, from this point to this point, that is my Y for the 10 gram mass. Because I'm going to take the recording for Y for the 10 gram mass. So I'm measuring that now in cm from here to here. This is 1.5. So I'll take my reading for the 10 gram mass. I have 1.50, because that is the measured value. You make it 2 decimal places, 1.50. And I take the reading also for the 20 gram mass, the depression from here to this point here. I have 2.567, 2.7. I have 2.70. Then for the 30-gram mass, from this point here, this point here to this point, I have 3.9. 3.9 is 3.9, so I have 3.90. Then for the 40-gram mass, this was my depression for 40-gram mass. This is 5.4. This is 5.4. 5.40. While for the 50-gram mass, from this point here to this point here, I have 6.1. So this is 6.10. So now for my line AO, is, this is O for 10 gram, this is the O for 20 gram, O for 30 gram, O for 40 gram, O for 50 gram. So I'm just going to treat each of them individually. So I'm going to draw the line here from this point to this A here. Let me draw it so you see what I want to measure. From here to here. Then this one from here to here. Measure that also. And I'll measure from this point here to this point. Measuring from this point to this point. And I'll measure from this point to this point. I'll measure from this point also to this point. So let's start with that of 10 gram. From this point to this point, this is 1. This is 19.6. 19.6. So I'll take the reading. This is 19.60. 2 decimal places for measured values. These are given values. That is why it's 1 decimal place. So any measured value should be 2 decimal places. So I'm going to measure for that of the 20 gram. So I have from this point, my 1 is here. Measure the line. 19.70. 19.70. Then that of the 30 gram. This is 19.9. 19.90. 19.90. Measure that of 40 gram. I have 20.2. 20.220. While the last one here, $20.40. So 20.40. So the next thing to do is to find y over AO. That is this divided by this. So I have 1.50 divided by 19.60. So the answer is 0.0. For calculated values, 3 decimal place is 3 decimal place should be in 3 decimal places. Calculated values should be in 3 decimal places. So you have 0.77. Then 2.70 divided by 19.70. I have 0.137. Next one, 3.90 divided by 19.90. I have 0.196. Then this 5.40 divided by 20.20. I have 0.267. And the last one is 6.10 divided by 20.40. 20.40, I have 0.299. So this is how tables of value will look like. So we are to plot a graph of y over AO on the vertical axis against y. Multiply these values here because you have 0 point like that. So you can multiply each of these values by 1000. So you can have a whole number value. So that way you can still use it to get for your vertical axis and you still get the correct outlook. Your graph will come out the way it should come out. So thank you so much.